1. I've got a real treat for you today. A 1981 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic piece of American muscle is asking $12,000, and it's got quite a story to tell. Let's dive into the details. We're looking at a gray coupe with the original 350 V8 engine and drivetrain. It's got that classic rear-wheel drive setup and an automatic transmission, perfect for cruising down the highway or showing off at your local car meet. The seller's been honest about its condition. It's not a full restoration, but it's had some significant upgrades. They've put in work on the interior, giving it a fresher look. The exterior's been treated to a new paint job, and it's sitting on a set of newer rims that really complement the car's lines. It's described as a nice, clean driver, so while it might not be concours ready, it's definitely a solid starting point for someone looking to own a piece of automotive history. Now I've got to be straight with you. The seller admits it's not perfect. But that's part of the charm with these older cars, isn't it? It's got character, and it's a great canvas for someone who wants to gradually improve and personalize their ride. The good news is it runs and drives, which is always a plus when you're dealing with classic cars. It's got a clean title in the seller's name, currently on non-op status. They mention they're motivated to sell, so there might be some room for negotiation for serious buyers. If you're in the market for a cool project car or a nice driver that you can gradually improve, this 81 Camaro could be right up your alley. It's got that classic Z28 style, a powerful V8 under the hood, and a lot of potential. Remember, with cars like these, it's always best to see them in person. You'll want to check out the body, listen to that engine, and really get a feel for what you're buying. The seller prefers texts, so if you're interested, shoot them a message and set up a time to check it out. So, what do you think? Are you ready to bring home this piece of Chevrolet history? It could be the start of a beautiful journey into classic car ownership. Let me know if you want me to dig deeper into this Camaro or any other interesting finds on Craigslist. 2. I've got a real gem to share with you today from Craigslist, a 1963 Chrysler New Yorker that's currently up for grabs at $8,000. This classic beauty is a true time capsule, and I'm excited to tell you all about it. First off, let's talk about the history. This is a one-owner car, which is incredibly rare for a vehicle of this age. That alone speaks volumes about how well it's been cared for over the years. The seller claims it has zero rust, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. We're looking at a car with around 100,000 miles on the odometer, but don't let that scare you. These old Chryslers were built to last. Now let's dive into the details. This New Yorker comes with the iconic push-button transmission, a feature that's sure to turn heads and spark conversations wherever you go. The seller describes it as being in absolutely beautiful, near-perfect condition, which is high praise indeed. They also mention it's turnkey ready, meaning you can drive it home right after purchase. One of the most intriguing aspects of this listing is the claim of near-perfect condition. While I always advise seeing a classic car in person before making a decision, if this description is accurate, we're talking about a remarkably well-preserved piece of automotive history. The New Yorker was Chrysler's top-of-the-line model in 1963, known for its luxurious appointments and smooth ride. These cars were built to cruise in style, and this one sounds like it's ready to hit the road once again. As always, I recommend a thorough inspection before making a purchase. Even well-maintained classics can have hidden issues, so it's worth taking a close look or having a trusted mechanic give it a once-over. In conclusion, if you're in the market for a classic American luxury car, this 1963 Chrysler New Yorker could be a fantastic find. With its one-owner history, claimed excellent condition, and that cool push-button transmission, it's a car that combines historical significance with the potential for immediate enjoyment. At $8,000, if it's as good as described, it could be a great value for a slice of automotive Americana. Remember, folks, in the world of classic cars, it's all about the details and the story. This New Yorker seems to have both in spades. 3. We're diving into a real piece of American muscle history, a 1972 Buick Skylark that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $11,000. This beauty is a testament to the golden age of American automobiles. and I'm excited to give you the lowdown on what we're looking at here. First off, we're dealing with an all-original Skylark, which is a rare find these days. Under the hood, you'll find the original 350 cubic inch V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor, promising plenty of power for this rear-wheel drive coupe. The odometer shows a respectable 82,000 miles, which isn't bad at all for a car pushing 50 years old. Now, let's be real here. This Skylark isn't perfect, but it's got a lot going for it. The seller's been upfront about its condition, which I appreciate. The interior needs some love, particularly the bench seats that are due for reupholstering. There's also some minor body damage, which is pretty common for a car of this vintage. On the plus side, all the lights, heater, and blinkers are reported to work, which is a good sign. The AC might even work with a recharge, which would be a nice bonus. It's sitting on its original Buick Rally rims with radial racing tires, and you even get a second set of tires thrown in. Mechanically, there are a few things to note. The muffler and radiator were replaced about 6 years ago, and the brakes were redone last year, though they need a proper bleeding. There's a slow transmission leak that needs addressing with a new gasket. But hey, it starts right up and is said to sound great, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. This Skylark could be a fantastic project for someone looking to dive into the world of classic car ownership. It's got a solid foundation with its original drivetrain, and with some TLC, it could really shine. The clean title is a big plus, and the seller seems flexible on price and available for viewings. Remember folks, when dealing with classics like this, it's always best to see them in person. Take it for a spin, listen to that V8 rumble, and really get a feel for what you're buying. This '72 Skylark might just be the perfect entry into classic car ownership for the right enthusiast. So, what do you think? Are you ready to cruise in some classic Buick style? 4. I've got a real head-turner for you. A 1962 Ford Thunderbird that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $9,000. This isn't your average T-Bird, folks, so buckle up and let me give you the scoop on this unique ride. First things first, this Thunderbird is what the seller calls a permanent convertible, meaning it's got no top at all. Now that might sound a bit unconventional, but it certainly makes for an interesting conversation starter. The body is painted black, which contrasts beautifully with the excellent condition red interior. Under the hood, we're looking at a brand new 390 V8 engine. That's some serious muscle, folks. The seller's done quite a bit of work on this bird, including new tires, a new battery, an aluminum radiator, and a new carburetor with an Edelbrock air cleaner. They claim it runs like a new car and purrs quietly, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the lack of a top. The seller mentions that a convertible conversion shop could install a frame and top for under $5,000 if you're looking for a more traditional convertible experience. They also point out that if this was a hardtop, it would be selling for at least $22,000, which gives you an idea of the potential value here. The seller is upfront about the car needing some minor cosmetic repairs, but overall describes the body as being in good shape. It's got its original Ford hubcaps, which is a nice touch for the purists out there. One interesting tidbit, the seller is open to trades, as long as the trade is in equally good condition. They're even willing to communicate in Spanish, which is a nice touch for our bilingual car enthusiasts. Now, I always encourage potential buyers to see classic cars in person before making a decision. This Thunderbird, with its unique configuration, is definitely one you'll want to check out up close. Take it for a spin, listen to that V8 purr, and really get a feel for what it would be like to cruise around in this topless beauty. So, what do you think? Are you ready to soar with this one-of-a-kind Thunderbird? At $9,000 or best offer, it could be a fantastic opportunity for the right enthusiast. Whether you keep it as a permanent convertible or invest in a top, this '62 T-Bird promises to be a head-turning ride. 5. I've got an interesting find for you today from Craigslist, a 1979 Chevrolet Corvette that's currently up for grabs at $8,700. This C3 Corvette has a story to tell, so let's dive right in. First off, we're looking at a coupe model with the 5.7-liter V8 engine. which is the classic 350 cubic inch power plant that Chevy was famous for. It's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a comfortable cruiser. The odometer shows a mere 42,000 miles, which is impressively low for a car of this age. Now, here's where things get interesting. The seller mentions that this Vetta has been parked for almost 5 years. That's a significant detail that we need to consider. While a low-mileage Corvette sounds great on paper, sitting for that long can lead to various issues with seals, fluids, and other components. The seller describes the car as being in fair and good condition, which is a bit vague. It suggests that while the car isn't a total wreck, it's not in showroom condition either. Given its period of inactivity, it's likely that this Corvette will need some TLC to get it back to its former glory. On the positive side, the seller states that it runs and drives, which is encouraging for a car that's been sitting. It also comes with a clean Nevada title, which is always a plus when dealing with older vehicles. For potential buyers, this 1979 Corvette could be an interesting project. The low mileage is a big draw, but you'll want to factor in the cost and effort of addressing any issues that have cropped up during its extended parking period. Things like rubber components, fluids, and even the fuel system might need attention. Remember, folks, when dealing with classics like this, especially ones that have been sitting, it's crucial to see them in person. You'll want to check for any signs of deterioration, listen to that V8 run, and really get a feel for what you're buying. So, what do you think? Are you ready to wake this sleeping Corvette from its 5-year slumber? At $8,700, it could be a decent entry point into C3 Corvette ownership, but make sure you go in with eyes wide open. This car will likely need some work, but for the right enthusiast, it could be a rewarding project. 6. I've got a real gem to share with you from Craigslist, a 1964 Chrysler Newport that's currently up for grabs at $5,000. This piece of American automotive history is definitely worth a closer look. Let's dive into the details. We're looking at a 2-door hardtop model, which is a fantastic body style that really captures the essence of 1960s design. The seller describes it as a beautiful original, which is always music to a classic car lover's ears. It's sporting a white paint job, which, if in good condition, can really make those classic lines pop. Under the hood, you'll find a V8 engine, which was standard for these big Chryslers back in the day. It's paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, making for a classic American cruising experience. The odometer shows around 100,000 miles, which isn't bad at all for a car pushing 60 years old. Now, the seller mentions that it's a decent car, which is a pretty honest assessment. They're not claiming it's perfect, which I appreciate. One standout feature they highlight is the nearly perfect stainless moldings. For those of you who know your classics, you'll understand how rare it is to find original trim in great condition on these old cars. It's often one of the first things to show wear and tear. The listing states that the car is in good condition, which is promising. However, it's important to remember that good for a nearly 60-year-old car might not mean the same thing as good for a newer vehicle. There's likely to be some wear and tear consistent with its age. One thing to note is that the seller describes the car as straight, which suggests the body is in good shape without significant dents or rust issues. This is crucial for any classic car, as bodywork can be one of the most expensive aspects of restoration. At $5,000, this Newport could be a great entry point into classic car ownership. These big Chryslers from the 60s offer a lot of style and presence for the money. However, as with any classic car purchase, I'd strongly recommend seeing it in person before making a decision. You'll want to check for any hidden rust, make sure all the electrics are working, and of course, take it for a test drive to hear that V8 purr. So, what do you think? Are you ready to cruise in style with this '64 Newport? It could be the perfect project for someone looking to dip their toes into the classic car world without breaking the bank. Remember, cars like these are not just vehicles. They're time machines that can transport you back to a different era. 7. I've got an interesting find for you today from Craigslist, a 1964 Chevrolet Corvair convertible that's currently up for grabs at $4,500. This quirky piece of American automotive history has some potential, but it also comes with a few challenges, so let's dive right in. First off, we're looking at a convertible model, which is always a fun option for classic car ownership. It's sporting a white paint job, and the seller claims it has no rust, which is a big plus for a car of this age. The odometer shows 50,000 miles, but the seller notes that it has rolled over, so we're likely looking at 150,000 miles or more. Under the rear deck, remember these Corvairs were rear-engined. We've got the 110 HP 6-cylinder engine paired with an automatic transmission. Now, here's where things get a bit tricky. The seller is upfront about the engine needing some work. Specifically, one cylinder is only showing 50 lbs of compression, which is a pretty significant issue that'll need addressing. On the bright side, the car comes with a clear title and past service records, which can be invaluable when working on a classic like this. However, it's not just the engine that needs attention. The convertible top needs a new window, so that's another repair to factor into your budget. Despite these issues, the seller describes the overall condition as good, which suggests that the body and interior might be in decent shape. Remember, though, that good for a nearly 60-year-old car is relative. For potential buyers, this 1964 Corvair convertible represents an interesting project. These cars have a unique place in automotive history, and their unconventional design makes them stand out at any car show. However, you'll need to be prepared to put in some work, especially on that engine. At $4,500, it could be a decent entry point into classic car ownership for someone willing to get their hands dirty. The lack of rust is a big selling point, as bodywork can often be the most expensive part of a restoration. Remember, folks, when dealing with classics like this, especially ones that need mechanical work, it's crucial to see them in person. You'll want to check out the body condition, inspect the interior, and maybe even bring along a mechanic to get a better idea of what you're getting into. 8. I've got an intriguing find from Craigslist to share with you today. A 1968 Ford Mustang Coupe that's currently on the market for $8,900. This pony car has some potential, but it also comes with a few question marks, so let's dive into the details. First off, we're looking at a coupe model, which is a classic body style for the first-generation Mustang. The seller mentions it's a C-code car, which means it originally came with a 289 cubic inch V8 engine. That's a solid power plant that's known for its reliability and decent performance. The car is sporting a blue paint job, which could look stunning if it's in good condition. Now here's where things get interesting. The seller states that the motor turns by hand, but they haven't tried to start it yet. This is a crucial piece of information. While it's good that the engine isn't seized, we don't know the full extent of its condition or what it might need to run properly. The fact that the seller hasn't attempted to start it suggests there might be some work needed to get this pony galloping again. The Mustang comes with a clean title, which is always a plus. It's currently on non-op status, which aligns with its non-running condition. The transmission is automatic, which some folks prefer for easy cruising. One thing to note is the seller's comment about the price. They're asking $8,900 as it sits, but mention that if they get it running, they'll want more. This suggests that they believe there's potential in this Mustang, but they're leaving the project up to the buyer at this price point. For potential buyers, this 1968 Mustang represents an interesting opportunity. These first-gen Mustangs are iconic, and there's a huge aftermarket support for them, which can make restoration easier. However, you'll need to be prepared for some work, especially in getting that engine running again. At $8,900, the price isn't unreasonable for a '68 Mustang, but it's important to factor in the cost of any necessary repairs or restoration. Without knowing the full condition of the body, interior, and mechanical components, it's hard to say whether this is a great deal or just an okay one. Remember, folks, when dealing with classics like this, especially ones that aren't currently running, it's crucial to see them in person. You'll want to do a thorough inspection of the body for any rust or damage, check out the interior condition, and maybe even bring along a mechanic to get a better idea of what you're getting into. So, what do you think? Are you ready to saddle up and take on this Mustang project? It's got its challenges, but for the right enthusiast, it could be the start of an exciting restoration journey. 9. I've got a real treat for you today from Craigslist, a 1971 Cadillac Cala that's currently up for grabs at $13,000. This big, beautiful boat of American luxury is definitely worth a closer look, so let's dive into the details. First off, we're talking about a coupe model, which is always a sleek choice for these full-size caddies. The seller's given this beauty a fresh coat of yellow paint, which is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. It's not your typical Cadillac color, and that's what makes it cool. Now let's talk about the heart of this beast. Under that long hood, you'll find Cadillac's legendary V8 engine, paired with an automatic transmission. This combination was designed for smooth, effortless cruising, which is exactly what these cars are all about. One of the most impressive aspects of this Cala is its incredibly low mileage. The seller claims it has only 2,900 original miles on the clock. If that's accurate, it's remarkably low for a car that's over 50 years old. The seller also mentions they're the third owner, which isn't bad for a car of this vintage. The interior is described as being in excellent condition, a 9 out of 10 with nice leather and a peanut butter color. That's a fantastic compliment to the yellow exterior and should make for a very inviting cabin. Now here's where it gets even better. The seller has put some serious work into this caddy. We're talking new brakes all around, new shocks and springs, a new Flowmaster exhaust system, which probably gives this big V8 a nice rumble, custom headlights, and a fresh tune-up including a new starter and distributor. They also claim there's no rust and no accident history, which is music to any classic car buyer's ears. At $13,000, this Cala represents an interesting opportunity. These big Cadillacs offer a lot of car for the money, and with all the recent work done, this one seems to be ready to hit the road in style. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person before making any decisions. You'll want to verify that low mileage, check out the quality of the paint job, and of course take it for a spin to experience that smooth Cadillac ride. So what do you think? Are you ready to cruise in ultimate 70s luxury with this yellow Cadillac Cala? It could be the perfect way to make a big statement at your next car show or just to enjoy some classic American engineering. 10. I've got a real gem to share with you today from Craigslist, a 1973 Chevrolet Impala that's currently up for grabs at $7,500. This big, beautiful piece of American iron is definitely worth a closer look, so let's dive into the details. First off, we're talking about a coupe model, which is always a sleek choice for these full-size Chevys. The seller's got this beauty painted in green, which is a classic color for these 70s cruisers. It's sporting a mere 73,997 miles on the odometer, which is impressively low for a car pushing 50 years old. Under that long hood, you'll find Chevy's trusty V8 engine, paired with an automatic transmission. This combination was designed for smooth, effortless cruising, which is exactly what these cars are all about. The seller claims everything works and that it's a daily driver, which is pretty impressive for a car of this vintage. Now here's where it gets interesting. The seller describes this Impala as being in like-new condition, which is a bold claim for a 50-year-old car. They mention that the engine bay is super clean, the interior is all original, and the undercarriage is solid. If true, that's a trifecta of goodness for any classic car buyer. The seller is confident enough in the car's condition to say you can drive it home or anywhere else, which suggests it's in good mechanical shape. They also mention it's never been in an accident, which is always good to hear. However, let's keep it real. There is one small issue noted. The rear bumper needs to be adjusted. It's a minor point, but it's good that the seller is upfront about it. At $7,500, this Impala could be a great entry point into classic car ownership. These big Chevys offer a lot of car for the money, and if it's truly in the condition described, it could be a fantastic deal. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person before making any decisions. You'll want to verify the mileage, check out the condition of the paint and interior, and of course, take it for a spin to experience that smooth 70s ride. So, what do you think? Are you ready to cruise in style with this green machine? It could be the perfect way to make a big statement at your next car show or just to enjoy some classic American engineering. 11. Let's dive deeper into this 1966 Buick Wildcat that's currently up for sale on Craigslist for $7,500. This classic American muscle car is a real head-turner, and for good reason. It's powered by a robust 401 cubic inch nailhead V8 engine, paired with a 400 turbo transmission, promising a thrilling ride for any classic car enthusiast. The seller reports that the odometer shows 41,000 miles, which they believe to be original. That's impressively low mileage for a car of this vintage, suggesting it might have been well cared for over the years. They also state that it runs well mechanically, which is crucial for a vehicle of this age. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as good, which is encouraging for a 58-year-old vehicle. However, it's important to remember that good is subjective, especially when it comes to classic cars. It would be wise for any potential buyer to inspect the vehicle thoroughly or have it checked by a professional. The Wildcat boasts a clean title, rear-wheel drive, and an automatic transmission, making it an attractive option for both collectors and those looking for a fun weekend cruiser. The custom paint color mentioned in the listing could be a unique selling point, potentially setting this Wildcat apart from others of its era. One particularly intriguing aspect of this listing is the mention of potential. The seller has included photos that showcase what this two-door coupe could look like with some additional work. This suggests that while the car is in good condition, there's room for improvement and personalization, which could be exciting for someone looking for a project car. It's worth noting that any vehicle of this age will likely need some attention and maintenance. While it reportedly runs well, potential buyers should be prepared for the unique challenges and joys that come with owning a classic car. In conclusion, this 1966 Buick Wildcat represents a piece of automotive history. With its powerful engine, low mileage, and potential for customization, it could be a fantastic opportunity for the right buyer. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a first-time classic car owner, this Wildcat offers a chance to own a slice of American muscle car heritage. Just remember, with classic cars, it's always best to see them in person and maybe even get a professional inspection before making a decision. 12. Let's talk about this sweet 1952 Mercury Monteray that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,900. This blue beauty is a real slice of automotive history, and I've got to say, it's got me pretty excited. First off, we're looking at a hardtop coupe with the original 255 cubic inch Mercury V8 engine under the hood. That's a big deal for collectors who value authenticity. It's got a manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, which is exactly what you'd expect from a car of this era. The seller claims it's got just 28,000 original miles, which is incredibly low for a 70-year-old vehicle. Now, let's be real here. The seller says it's in good condition for the year, which is a fair assessment. These old cars aren't perfect, and this one's no exception. It's got a cracked windshield, but the good news is the seller's throwing in a spare. The speedometer and gas gauge need some attention, so you'll want to factor that into your plans if you're thinking about buying. On the plus side, it's been mildly modified with a set of Reds headers and dual exhaust, which probably gives it a nice rumble. The seller mentions it's a good driver, which suggests it's roadworthy and not just a static display piece. The history of this Merc is pretty cool too. Apparently, it was originally owned by a policeman in North Dakota. That kind of provenance can add some real interest to a classic like this. Look, this isn't a fully restored show car, and it's not pretending to be. It's an honest, original piece of American automotive history that needs a bit of TLC. But for the right person, this could be an awesome project or a unique daily driver with tons of character. If you're in the market for a classic that you can drive and improve over time, this 52 Mercury Monteray could be just the ticket. It's located in Forest Lake, Minnesota, but the seller's offering delivery, which is a nice bonus. Remember, with old cars like this, it's always a good idea to see it in person if you can. Check out those little issues, listen to that V8 run, and really get a feel for what you'd be getting into. This Mercury's got potential, but it'll need some love to really shine. If you're up for a bit of a project with a lot of character, this could be the classic for you. 13. We're diving into a real gem from the late 70s, a 1979 Lincoln Continental that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,150. This luxurious land yacht is a testament to American automotive opulence, and let me tell you, it's got some stories to tell. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller claims it's in excellent shape, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over 4 decades old. With only 49,000 miles on the odometer, this Continental has barely broken in its 400 cubic inch V8 engine. That's right, we're talking about a massive 6.6-liter power plant that was built to cruise effortlessly down the highway. Now I've got to be straight with you. The seller says this beast runs and drives great, and they've got some solid evidence to back that up. Apparently, they just completed a cross-country road trip in this Lincoln, which speaks volumes about its reliability. That's not something you can say about every 44-year-old car. The Continental comes with some recent upgrades too. It's sporting new tires, which is always a plus for safety and ride quality. They've also installed a new stereo system, so you can enjoy your tunes in proper 70s style while you're cruising. Let's talk about the aesthetics. This sedan is dressed in white, which was a popular color for these luxury cars back in the day. It's got that classic Continental look, long, low, and impossibly wide. This car doesn't just park, it docks. Under the hood, you've got that big V8 paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive. It's a classic American luxury car setup that prioritizes smooth power delivery and comfort over sportiness. Now, I always like to remind potential buyers that with any classic car, especially one this old, you should expect to do some maintenance. Even though it's described as excellent, these old luxury cars can have their quirks. But if you're looking for a piece of automotive history that you can actually drive and enjoy, this Continental seems like it could be a solid choice. For $12,950, you're getting a lot of car, both literally and figuratively. It's a conversation starter, a comfortable cruiser, and a slice of Americana all rolled into one. If you've ever wanted to experience what it was like to drive a top-of-the-line American luxury car from the late 70s, this Lincoln Continental could be your ticket to ride. Just remember, you might need a bigger garage. 14. Let's talk about this 1963 Ford Galaxy convertible that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,900. This isn't just any old Galaxy. We're looking at a project car with some serious potential. First things first, this Galaxy is packing a 390 cubic inch V8 with a tri-power setup. For those who might not know, that means it's got 3 two-barrel carburetors, which was a hot setup back in the day for some serious power. That alone makes this car pretty special. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This isn't a turnkey classic you can just hop in and drive. The seller is upfront about it being a project car that needs to be reassembled. They say they have about 90% of the parts to complete it, which is good news, but it also means you'll need to track down that last 10% and put in some work to get this beauty road ready. The body is painted white, and the seller claims the paint is in good condition. That's a plus because a good paint job can be one of the most expensive parts of a restoration. They've also fitted it with new wheels and tires, which is another cost saved for the future owner. Being a convertible adds another layer of desirability to this Galaxy. There's nothing quite like cruising in a big, powerful convertible from the 60s, and once this car is complete, that's exactly what you'll be able to do. The car comes with a clean California title, which is always good to hear. California cars often have less rust issues than those from wetter or snowier climates, so that's another potential positive. Now, let's be real here. Taking on a project car isn't for everyone. You'll need some mechanical know-how, time, and probably a bit more money to get this Galaxy back on the road. But for the right person, this could be an incredibly rewarding project. Once completed, you'll have a rare and powerful convertible that'll turn heads wherever you go. For $12,900, you're getting a lot of potential. If you've been dreaming of owning a classic Ford convertible and you're not afraid of some assembly required, this 1963 Galaxy could be your ticket to classic car heaven. Just make sure you've got the space, time, and skills to bring this beauty back to life. 15. Let's talk about this 1985 Buick Riviera that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,450. This isn't your average 80s ride. We're looking at a piece of Buick luxury that's managed to stand the test of time. First off, let's appreciate that this Riviera has only 53,214 miles on the clock. For a car that's pushing 40 years old, that's impressively low mileage. It suggests this Buick has been more of a cherished possession than a daily driver over the years. Now, the seller describes this car as very clean and all original, which is music to the ears of any classic car lover. In a world where so many old cars have been modified or poorly restored, finding an all-original example is like striking gold. The white exterior paired with a blue interior is a classic color combination that screams 80s luxury. Under the hood, we've got a V8 engine. Buick was known for smooth, torquey engines, and this V8 should provide plenty of effortless cruising power. It's paired with an automatic transmission, perfect for laid-back, comfortable driving. One interesting feature of this Riviera is that it's front-wheel drive. This was a big deal back in the 80s as many luxury cars were transitioning from rear-wheel to front-wheel drive. It gives the car better traction in poor weather and allowed for a more spacious interior. Speaking of the interior, if it's as clean as the seller suggests, you're in for a treat. These Rivieras were known for their plush, comfortable interiors filled with all the luxury features of the day. Now, I always like to remind potential buyers that with any classic car, especially one from the 80s, you should expect to do some maintenance. Even low-mileage cars can have issues with old rubber components, and 80s electronics can be finicky. But if this Riviera is as clean and original as described, it could be a fantastic find for the right buyer. For $12,450, you're getting a slice of American luxury car history. It's not the most common classic out there, which means you'll likely be the only one with a Riviera like this at your local car show. If you've been looking for a comfortable, stylish cruiser from the 80s that stands out from the crowd, this 1985 Buick Riviera could be just the ticket. Just make sure to give it a thorough inspection and maybe a test drive before you commit. 16. We've got a real gem on our hands today. A 1978 Lincoln Mark V that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $13,500. This isn't just any old Lincoln. It's a piece of American luxury car history that's been lovingly cared for by an 87-year-old gentleman. Let's start with the heart of this beast, a massive 460 cubic inch V8 engine. That's 7.5 liters of pure, unadulterated American muscle. Despite having 76,204 miles on the clock, the seller claims it runs like new. That's a testament to the care it's received over the years. Now, feast your eyes on that sleek, black-on-black exterior. These Mark Vs were known for their long, low profiles and distinctive styling, and this one sounds like it's a real looker. The interior is described as black and silver cloth, which was a popular and luxurious option back in the day. But wait, there's more. This Lincoln's got some upgrades that set it apart. It's rolling on Vogue gold ring tires. If you're not familiar, these were the height of luxury back in the 70s and 80s. They've also added an aftermarket sunroof, giving this land yacht a bit of an open-air feel. The seller describes the condition as excellent, which is impressive for a car that's over 4 decades old. Of course, excellent can be subjective, so it's always a good idea to inspect any classic car thoroughly before making a purchase. Now, I've got to be straight with you. Cars from this era, especially big luxury cars like this, aren't known for their fuel efficiency. That 460 V8 is thirsty, so don't expect to win any economy contests. But what you lose in MPG, you more than make up for in style, comfort, and presence. For $13,500, you're getting a lot of car, both literally and figuratively. This Mark V represents the pinnacle of American luxury from the late 70s. It's the kind of car that turns heads and starts conversations wherever it goes. If you've been dreaming of cruising down the boulevard in a classic piece of Detroit iron, this 1978 Lincoln Mark V could be your ticket to ride. Just remember, with any classic car, it's a good idea to budget for maintenance and potential repairs. But if you're ready to experience what true American luxury felt like in the disco era, this Lincoln is waiting for you. 17. I've got a real treat to share with you today. We're talking about a 1977 Cadillac El Dorado Biarritz that's currently up for sale on Craigslist for $8,900. This isn't just any old car. It's a piece of American automotive history that's been well preserved and cared for over the years. Let's dive into the details. This El Dorado is sporting a clean title and has only 77,629 miles on the clock, which is impressively low for a vehicle of this vintage. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, and from what they've shared, it certainly sounds like it. Under that long, elegant hood sits a powerful 8-cylinder engine paired with an automatic transmission, delivering that smooth, effortless power that Cadillacs are known for. One of the interesting features of this El Dorado is its front-wheel drive system. That might not sound revolutionary now, but back in '77, it was a pretty big deal for a luxury car of this size. The seller assures us that it runs and drives beautifully, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. Now let's talk about the work that's been done on this beauty. It's riding on new tires, which is always a good sign. The vinyl top has been replaced, giving it that classic 70s look without the wear and tear. They've also installed a new exhaust system and rebuilt the carburetor. Perhaps most importantly for a car of this age, the seller states there's no rust, which is a major plus. The El Dorado is finished in white, which really showcases its long, flowing lines and distinctive Cadillac styling. It's the kind of car that makes a statement wherever it goes, a true icon of its era. Of course, I haven't seen this Cadillac in person, so I'm relying on the seller's description. But if it's as good as it sounds, this could be a fantastic opportunity for someone looking to get into classic car ownership or add to their collection. It's currently located in Carson City, Nevada, just waiting for its next caretaker. Remember, when dealing with classic cars, it's always best to see them in person, get a professional inspection if possible, and don't be afraid to ask questions. But from what I can see, this 1977 Cadillac El Dorado Biarritz looks like it could be a real gem. It's a chance to own a piece of automotive luxury from an iconic decade. Whether you're looking to cruise in style or show it off at car meets, this El Dorado could be the classic you've been waiting for. 18. We're taking a look at a real gem, a 1981 Pontiac Firebird Formula that's currently up for grabs at $14,000. This isn't just any old Firebird, it's a low-mileage beauty with only 36,000 miles on the clock. The seller describes it as their awesome daily driver, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. This Firebird is rocking a clean Colorado title and is said to be rust-free, which is a big deal for a car that's over 4 decades old. It's finished in an eye-catching red that really shows off those classic Firebird lines. Under the hood, you'll find the original 265 V8 engine paired with a TH350 automatic transmission. The seller assures us it's very reliable and needs nothing to keep on daily driving, which is pretty impressive for a car of this vintage. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The sale includes a separate running Pontiac 400 engine and another TH350 transmission. The seller had plans to build this up for the car but hasn't gotten around to it. That means you're not just getting a great classic car, but also the potential for a serious power upgrade down the line. The interior appears to be all original, which is a nice touch for collectors who appreciate authenticity. With its rear-wheel drive setup and V8 power, this Firebird formula promises to deliver that classic American muscle car experience that's getting harder to find these days. Of course, as with any used car, especially one from the early '80s, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection in person. But if it's as good as described, this could be a fantastic opportunity to own a piece of Pontiac history that you can actually drive and enjoy regularly. Remember, folks, this is a 42-year-old car, so while it's described as excellent, it's not going to be perfect. But for someone looking for a classic Firebird that's ready to hit the road and comes with the potential for even more power, this 1981 Pontiac Firebird formula could be just the ticket. It's a chance to own a piece of American muscle car heritage that you can actually use and enjoy. Whether you're looking to cruise in style or show it off at car meets, this Firebird could be the classic you've been waiting for. 19. We're diving into a real gem that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1976 Mercury Cougar XR7, and let me tell you, this one's a stunner. Priced at $14,900, this big, beautiful beast from the 70s is turning heads, and for good reason. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as excellent, and based on their description, it seems they're not exaggerating. This Cougar has only 56,000 miles on the odometer, which they believe to be original given the overall condition of the car. That's incredibly low mileage for a vehicle that's nearly half a century old. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. This XR7 is a triple black beauty. Black exterior, black interior, and black vinyl top. It's a color combination that never goes out of style and really emphasizes the Cougar's sleek, muscular lines. Under the hood, you'll find a 304 Nm engine, which is actually 400 cubic inches, paired with an automatic transmission. This powertrain should provide plenty of smooth, effortless power, perfect for cruising in style. One of the standout features of this Cougar is its factory sunroof, which was a pretty rare option back in the day. It's loaded with other options too, though the seller doesn't specify which ones. They do mention that it runs and drives as original as it looks, which is high praise for a car of this vintage. The seller emphasizes that these big 70s cars are hot right now, and I have to agree. There's something about the presence and style of these land yachts that's really captured the imagination of car enthusiasts in recent years. And this one seems to be a real head-turner, with the seller mentioning they get thumbs up and comments wherever they go. Of course, as with any classic car, you'll want to see it in person and maybe get a professional inspection before making a decision. But if it's as good as described, this 1976 Mercury Cougar XR7 could be a fantastic opportunity for someone looking to get into classic car ownership or add to their collection. Remember, this is a 47-year-old car, so while it's described as excellent, it's not going to be perfect. But for someone looking for a stylish, well-preserved piece of 70s automotive history that you can actually drive and enjoy, this Cougar could be just the ticket. It's got presence, it's got style, and it's got that unmistakable 70s cool factor. Whether you're looking to cruise in style, show it off at car meets, or just admire it in your garage, this Mercury Cougar XR7 seems like it could be a real catch. Happy. 20. We're looking at a piece of American sports car history, a 1985 Chevrolet Corvette that's currently up for grabs at $7,500. Now, I've got to be straight with you folks, this one's a bit of a mixed bag, but it could be a great project for the right enthusiast. Let's start with the good stuff. This Vetta is a convertible, which is always a plus for summer cruising. It's got relatively low mileage for its age, clocking in at 81,000 miles. The seller claims it's all original, which can be a big draw for collectors. Under the hood, you'll find the 350 cubic inch V8 with the 2-port fuel injection system, paired with a manual transmission, a combo that should provide a fun driving experience. The seller mentions they're the second owner, and the car spent most of its life stored in a barn. Now that could be good or bad. It might have protected the car from the elements, but long-term storage can also lead to its own set of issues. Speaking of issues, let's talk about what this Corvette needs. The seller has recently replaced the entire fuel system, including the gas tank, lines, fuel pump, and sending unit. That's a significant update that should help with reliability. However, they also mention that the tires are weather-cracked and need replacing. That's an additional expense you'll need to factor in. Now, I've got to be honest with you, barn finds can be tricky. While this Corvette has a clean title and is said to run and drive, sitting for long periods can lead to all sorts of hidden problems. Seals can dry out, rubber components can deteriorate, and there might be issues that only reveal themselves once you start driving it regularly. The price point of $7,500 seems reasonable for a C4 Corvette convertible, especially one with relatively low miles. However, you'll want to factor in the cost of those new tires and potentially other maintenance items that might crop up. If you're handy with a wrench and looking for a project car with potential, this 1985 Corvette could be a great opportunity. It's got good bones, the desirable convertible body style, manual transmission, and that classic Chevy V8. With some TLC, it could be turned into a really nice driver or even a show car. Remember, folks, when dealing with older cars like this, especially ones that have been in storage, it's crucial to inspect them thoroughly or have a professional take a look before you buy. This Corvette is located in Carnegie, okay? So if you're in the area and in the market for a Project Vetta, it might be worth checking out. Just go in with your eyes open, ready to do some work, and you could end up with a sweet piece of American sports car history.